And we're back again on my Steam library. Next game I'm playing is called Neon Chrome. Neon Chrome is a twin stick shooter. It's set in a cyberpunk world. You control an asset that you fights through a level to find the exit. As you fight through the level, you kill in a mixture of robots and people, humans. Each of these usually drops some credits, and the idea is just to amass as many credits as you can each level and move on to the next one. You can also find weapon upgrades, new weapons, new abilities and new cybernetic implants. It's a rogue-lite. There's permanent death, there's procedural level generation, and there's permanent progression after death onto your next run. So as you progress through the level, you accumulate whatever you can in the level, wherever you find credits, weapons, weapon upgrades and so forth. After you die, you return to your hub area, and here is where you can now spend the credits that you earned on that run. You can spend the credits to upgrade your health, your damage, your crit chance and various other things. You can also upgrade a weapon to take with you on your next one. If it's a weapon you've already found, that's weapons now available for you to start with in the next run. So each run you do, the things you collect on that run should make your next run a little bit easier. That's the idea. That's how most roguelites work. You might die, the death is permanent, but what you did on that run is then carried over in some way to the next one to make your next run a little bit easier, so you can get a bit further each time, hopefully. The game's map is laid out in several tiers. Each tier consists of 5 maps. At the end of each tier, on the 5th map, there's a boss fight, and once you complete that boss fight, you move on to the next tier. When you die and you start another run, you can choose to start again at the beginning of any tier that you've completed. So that is any boss fight that you've completed, you can choose to start at the beginning of the next tier. Now you don't have to, you can choose to start at a lower tier that you've already done, and the reason you might want to do that is maybe because there's still things to find on that tier. You think there's still, it'll tell you what upgrades and that might still be available, and also you might be finding it a little too tough on the tier that you progressed furthest to. You might not quite have the damage or the health to take on the enemies on that tier yet, so you might want to do another run on a lower tier down to accumulate a bit more credits a little bit easier, so that you can then go back to the hub, upgrade your health and damage again, and maybe then have a better and easier run on the higher tier that represents your furthest progress at the moment. There's a fair bit of choice in that regard on where you want to start and how you want to play. There's also a fair bit of choice in the weapons and that you want to use. Any weapon you unlock or find on a tier is now available in your hub for you to pick to start with in your next run. So if you found a weapon you particularly liked, you can start with that weapon again in your next run. Same with a special ability and one cybernetic implant. As you go through each level, you find stations where you can install more cybernetic implants, and you can upgrade the number of those cybernetic implants which you are allowed to have at any one time in the same way as you spend credits upgrading your health and damage and so forth. So there's quite a bit of customization and variation. You can sort of work on some builds. There's several different classes of asset I should mention as well. When you start the run, it will give you a choice of usually 3 different, there's more than 3, but you only get a choice of 3. They're kind of determined randomly what 3 it gives you to choose from. But there's like an assassin who's sort of invisible while he's standing still. There's a soldier who's got like a bit of a shield that blocks some frontal damage. So you can choose from those as well as what weapons and special ability you want to start with. So there's a fair bit of variation in the way it lets you play. But once you are playing, once you are in the level, it's all hands to blowing shit up, blowing up robots, blowing up humans, getting to that exit and moving on to the next one. Its asking price is $10.99, which I think is pretty fair. It's got quite a lot going for it, and there's quite a lot of content in there. There's an overall boss at the end of it, the Overseer, on like the 5th tier up, and once you've beaten that, then you can start again on the next sort of tier going up to the next Overseer. So it's very, very replayable. I was finding it really quite addictive. I really wanted to keep going, and when I died, I really wanted to go get myself kitted out, spend my credits, and go for the next run straight away, knowing that hopefully I'll be able to get that little bit further this time. It'll be a little bit easier. So I think $10.99 is well worth it. But of course, if it shows up in a sale for less than that, then even better. So that's Neon Chrome. I highly recommend it. It's a really good twin stick shooter with some really cool roguelite elements.